Welcome back to another episode of NaytonTech. Today we're going to be going over the Nest Thermostat E and the Nest external sensor, temperature sensor. The Nest Thermostat E is slightly different than the original Nest thermostat. It's a hair smaller. You notice that it's all white and has kind of it's a polycarbonate finish, and it also kind of has a frost face versus the other one, which is black with just a straight LED face on it. I like the white look a little bit more. It blends in. I don't have white walls, but if I did, it would blend in a little bit better. The Nest Thermostat E does not have a high-res display. This one is actually pretty high-res to me. Don't notice any pixelation or anything like that. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in here in a bit, and you can really get to see what the screen looks like on it. The Nest Thermostat E does not have what they call Farsight, where it shows the weather and the time, whatever, directly on it. It's also, I believe, it doesn't have as good of a sensor for noticing if you're home or away. Neither of those things I use because of the location of my thermostat. I'm actually at the top of my stairs, and there's nothing else up here. We're not walking by this sensor all day, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference for me. The only bedroom up here is the master bedroom. The main reasons why I got the thermostat are because I can control and see what my thermostat is doing no matter where I'm at. One of the things that I really like is when I'm about an hour away from home, when I've been gone for a few days or whatever, I can actually turn my thermostat on and get the house back up or down to temperature before I get home. So I'm not walking into a really hot house or really cold house, depending on the time of year. You can set up a schedule. If you and your significant other and kids are gone from 7 in the morning till 4 o'clock at night, you can actually have it not try to keep the perfect temperatures you want in your house during those times or close to those times. And that way you're not running your furnace and stuff or your air conditioning all day when you're not even here. I tried that once. It was pretty decent, but not something I really need since one of us is usually home all the time. The other big feature that I like about this over the thermostat that I had that came with the house is this has a heat and cool mode versus just a heat or just a cool mode. So the standard thermostat, you can turn it to heat and it will heat it up to a certain temperature and then turn off. Here in Idaho, during the spring and fall times, we have a pretty big range of temperatures throughout the day. So there's times where you need to heat it in the morning, but then in the afternoon you actually need to hit the cool to turn on, the AC to turn on. So which means I'm constantly running upstairs every day when I'm like, oh crap, it's starting to get hot in the house, and turn it to cool mode. So I manually, and in the morning it gets too cold, so then I have to turn the heat on every morning. For this one I set, okay, I want you to keep it between, like right now, I have it set between 66 and 69 degrees. We like our house a little bit cooler. So that's an advantage. I don't have to worry about turning the heat and cool on all the time. I set it and pretty much forget it for the most part unless there's something different in our schedule during the week. So the sensor is wireless. So you can zoom in a little bit. Pretty much there's not much to it. On the back here it's got a little notch for mounting. Comes with a special screw that you use to mount. And then there's this little silver port here where you put the battery in. Battery's supposed to last up to 2 years. Just a little watch battery. I don't remember the number on it, but it does say it on the box. I have that downstairs. This sensor is upstairs, and there's not a lot of airflow in this hallway. So my temperature downstairs is always fluctuating depending on how much air or what the temperature is upstairs. Now that I have that external sensor, my downstairs stays at a much more constant temperature, which that's where we're at 90% of the time. And it's not worrying, I pretty much tell it to ignore the sensor up here, and this is where all the wiring and stuff is. It's kind of a crappy place to put it in my opinion, but that's how this house was designed. All right, so now we've got a kind of a close-up view. You can see this doesn't really have any pixelation. It doesn't really look like an LCD screen or an LED screen for that matter to me. That frost kind of gives it a nice soft look to it. Both my sensors are upstairs. It's kind of warm up here, so that's why it's showing the 80 degrees is actually what the current temperature is. Upstairs in the house, it's not too bad. I've got a fan going. Most of the things you're going to be doing are just to change the temperature. So if you rotate it this way, it lets you change the bottom number. You press and you can set it to whatever you want. It will not let you go more than 3 degrees. So if you notice, or actually 2 degrees. So as soon as I try to get, you'll notice that they both go up. When I go back down, the upper one does not change. So I'm going to set this one, rotate it to the right. Set this one back to 69. If you haven't, don't rotate it, press, there's a little nest button right here. This gives you your different modes. So here's your heat cool mode. You can turn it off completely. It's your eco mode, and these you set these, your eco mode you can set the temperatures to what you want. I think mine are set to 61 and like 84. So if it goes into eco mode, it automatically goes to those two temperatures. Switch to just a cool mode or just a heat mode if you want. You can go back. This will also give you the current temperature outside. It's 96 degrees here. It's Saturday, about 6:18. Go into our settings, quickly go through those. This is where you can set your schedule. And you can do this stuff from the app as well. It's probably easier to do it from the app than it is here. Fan schedule, you see you can have a separate schedule for your temperature stuff versus if you just want the fan to run. You can look at your history. You look at how many hours your air conditioning. If you do have heat in there, I don't think I've got any days recently. It will actually have an orange or kind of a reddish line or block if you were using the heat, or if it kicked the heat on. All right, let's get back in. And this doesn't have any notches or anything. It's just a nice smooth turn. You can lock it, I think, with a pin. I've never locked it. This is just your current mode that you're in. Oh, sorry, this is your eco mode. So I have it 61 to 84, and you can change those to whatever you want. Home away assist, you can turn on or off. You can manage your sensors with the schedule, your Nest Sense, reminders. If you can set a reminder to, the app will actually remind you to change your thermostat air filter. Wake display, you can change this when you pass by or when you hit the Nest button down here at the bottom. It's kind of nice when you walk by, it just kind of flashes whatever the current temperature is. And then after a few seconds, it just goes, it actually will turn the screen off and you just see this nice frost. Click sound on and off, current temperature, set your placement of where this is at. When you're in the app, it'll actually show you what sensors you have and what locations, and it'll tell you the current temperature, each one of those, on each one of those sensors. Network, what your account email address is, location, language, date and time. If you have any extra equipment, this tells you if you have like gas or electric heat, things like that, so that it knows kind of to time things correctly. Nest Pro, I've never gotten into technical information. Legal information, you can reset it or done. It's pretty much all you get at the sensor itself. I'm going to go ahead and pull the sensor off, and that will actually, if you do take the sensor off, it actually says to use thermostat attached to its base. This is the base. There's a level at the top to help you level it. So mine's only a 4-wire system, which most are if you have a heat cool. And let's see if I can get out of the light a little bit there so you guys can see that. Mental note, if you do this, take a picture of your old one. So if you ever have to put it back in, if you're renting the house or whatever, you can go back and put those wires exactly where they were. Plug them in here. Thermostat on, it just clicks on. And then it'll actually delay everything for about 4 minutes or so while it reinitializes everything. That is pretty much it for the Nest Thermostat E. A couple more things on the temperature sensor, the external one that I forgot to mention. You can hook up to 6 of these to your thermostat, at least to the E. I don't know if the other one has more, but I know you're probably running at least 6. It uses Bluetooth to connect to your thermostat, so it has to be within Bluetooth range, and it will test that when you're setting it up in the app. And I'm going to go over that here in a minute. The one thing I like about having the other sensor, like I said, is it does keep my downstairs much more consistent temperature because it's relying on that sensor versus what the upstairs, like my upstairs right now is showing about 79 degrees. The downstairs temperature is showing about 72. It is kind of a hot day, so my AC is kind of pumping a little bit extra just to keep it cool down there. So it's been much nicer down there throughout the day having that external sensor. Easily worth the $39 or whatever that I paid for the one sensor. So if you guys do have a sensor upstairs and you're mostly downstairs, get that second sensor. It makes a world of difference. Let's go ahead and hop into the app, and I'll show you some of the stuff that you can do with the app and how to set up that second sensor. This is the Nest app. So we've got, obviously, my home here. This is the upstairs thermostat. If I had other like Nest cams or whatnot, they would show up as other icons. So we're going to go ahead and go into the thermostat. So you can see here we're still set at 66 and 69. Upstairs I put the sensor back, so now it's showing at 74 degrees. We've got some information down here. Our upstairs thermostat is setting at 79. Downstairs sensor is at 74. Inside humidity is 38. And the temperature outside at my home is 97 degrees. So you can actually click on these, change them up and down if you want. Same thing applies if I move this down with more than a 3 degree or if I go under can't go under a 3 degree gap. So if I move this to 68, it'll automatically move that one to 65. Here at the bottom, got your different modes. Heat and cool are off. You can turn eco mode on. Turn your fan on for X amount of time, up to 12 hours straight. Set your schedule. This is the only part that I've seen that's actually landscape. So what you do is you set, so Wednesday, click add. So at 4 a.m., cool to 82, heat to 72. You can drag it left or right, up and down to whatever temperature you want for each day that you want. Me personally, I think the app would do better if I had a Monday and then I set a start and a stop time or whatever, but this lets you do it multiple times throughout the day, so it's got its advantages. You just scroll, there's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatnot. It'd be nice to be able to replicate. You have to do this for every day. So it works, but not something you're probably going to want to change all the time. And then you've got your history. So this goes back about 10 days or so. Tells you how many hours it's ran each day. Like Tuesday must have been a nice hot day because it ran for 17 hours straight. Okay, up here you've got your gear icon. This is configuration for the upstairs or for the thermostat itself. You have your home away assist. I have mine off because if we don't go upstairs, it thinks we're away and turns everything off. Auto schedule, if you want it to try to sense what your schedule is, it'll kind of learn and kind of create a schedule on its own. Doesn't work for us, at least for the way our house is set up. Might work better for you guys. It's something worth trying. Time to temp. Basically, it gives you how long it thinks it's going to take to reach your target temperature, so it'll actually let you know that. Early on, it turns on your heating and cooling to reach a certain temperature at a specific time. So you can, if you know you're going to be home at a specific time, you might be able to set that, for kind of maybe a one-time thing. Cool to dry, I've got both of those off. Sunblock on. So this is if your thermostat is in direct sunlight, it'll adjust accordingly because it's got sun hitting the thermostat itself, the actual sensor, which means it's actually going to be reading hotter than it normally would. You can have leaf on. So this basically, it turns a leaf, it gives you a leaf icon when your temperature is adjusted to a power saving temperature, which I believe is about 61 to 84. Airwave on. If it knows that the temperature is, it'll turn the air conditioner off and just leave the fan running to pump the cool air if it's reached its temperature. You can set your eco temperatures here. My 61 to 84, those are about the minimums, and you can see the leaf icon. Temperature, Fahrenheit. I live in the United States, so we do everything Fahrenheit here. You can set a fan schedule. You can manage your sensors. So I have one device. It's got the downstairs. It's named specifically that, and you can have a separate schedule for your sensor if you want. So you can run, if you know you're going to be, like if I know I was going to be upstairs for, let's say my office was upstairs. I would want to make sure that my sensor up there is what everything runs off of versus downstairs or another room, because that's where I'm at most of the day. I want that at a specific temperature. Wi-Fi connections, how you set up your Wi-Fi equipment. So this is where and I explained this earlier, your heat source, if it's gas or electric, so it knows how to control that. Forced air is what mine is. Air filter reminder is on. Safety temperature will never let it get below 40 degrees. You can lock it. Location, where it is, up here is technical info, which is probably just serial number, stuff like that. And then the sensor, which is downstairs. You can it's attached to one thermostat. You can have it test the connection, see how good it is. Ask your placement, more technical information. You can remove it there if you want. One thing I kept trying to do when I added the sensor is I kept trying to go into the gear icon here, and it would never give me the add more hardware. What you need to do is you need to be on this screen, hit your gear icon, and then add product down here. And there's actually there's a little, it's not a sticker, but it's a piece of plastic, it's a little pull tab that blocks the battery. So when you pull it out, anyway, it turns the sensor on, but there's also not a barcode, but one of the QR codes, and you scan that, and that's how it adds the product. You can set up family notifications if you've got more than what I've got. So here's just the two products I have, the upstairs and downstairs products there. You go into your account information. I won't open that up on screen. That's pretty much the app itself. If you have any questions, post them below. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Up here doesn't get a lot of airflow.